Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight for the Neighborhood Watch meeting. We're going to go over the Neighborhood Watch program, what it's about, what you can do. And we're going to jump into some things a little bit outside of the Neighborhood Watch, but still kind of coincides, just some stuff I want you guys to be aware about. If you have any questions, let me know. It's not a super formal meeting, so if something comes up, raise your hand, let me know. If we're going to cover it, I'll let you know, hey, it's coming up. I just don't want it to come off being rude, okay? So Neighborhood Watch, it is good neighbors. It's an organized group of concerned citizens working together to stay safe. It is a crime prevention program where neighbors look out for one another. We share information with one another, and we report all suspicious activity. What Neighborhood Watch is not. It is not a vigilante force working outside the normal procedures of the local police or sheriff's department. It is not a 100% guarantee that crime will not occur in your neighborhood or that you will not be victimized. And it is not a program for participants to undertake personal risks to deter crime. Essentially, you are the eyes and ears of your community or your neighborhood. So, suspicious activity. You see something, you say something. There's many different things that can be deemed suspicious activity. We always like to say, it's better to say something than not. Even if we deem it not suspicious, we'd rather have you guys call and report, just that way everybody's safe. So people looking into windows or trying doors, meaning they're trying to open doors, they're checking cars. People or vehicles moving unusually slow or fast. That could be, maybe a car has circled the block 2 or 3 times at 5 miles an hour, or maybe this car is speeding out of the neighborhood at 100 miles an hour because maybe a crime is about to occur or had occurred. Any glass breaking, any screaming, unexpected sales or repair people. I know that one's been common for some time now. It's not unusual for people to appear as sales or repair people, go knock on doors, and conduct their mischief that way. Suspicious odors in cars or houses. People have called plenty of times for suspicious odors. Sometimes it's turned out to be what everybody had expected to be, or just trash that hasn't been dumped. But the fact that people are calling and letting us know, that's huge, because we would hate for somebody not to call and be the latter of the two. Any abandoned vehicles in the area. You learn to recognize the differences between normal and abnormal behavior, who your neighbors are, and what cars are normally in your neighborhood. Especially if you lived in a certain community for a while, you gotta get a feel and recognize who should be there, and maybe who shouldn't be there. The same thing with the cars. You tend to know everybody's cars, what they drive, and maybe one day you get a car that you haven't seen before, and they're circling the neighborhood 4, 5, 6 different times one night. What is not suspicious activity? Children playing in their neighborhood is not suspicious behavior. But be vigilant when children are out playing. Not suspicious activity includes age, race, religion, gender, economic status, and you have to remember to profile the behavior and not the person. So just because somebody is a certain age, race, religion, that's not suspicious activity. Now, if their behavior says otherwise, if they're looking into houses, checking car doors, okay, then that's suspicious. What criminals typically look for? Open or unlocked doors and windows, hiding places, poor visibility, valuables left in plain sight, easy targets, most payoff with minimum risk. So the easy targets kind of go hand in hand with the others. If it's an open door in your car, easy target. Valuables are left in plain sight. One night you leave your lawnmower out in the front yard, easy target, whatever the case may be. And it's the most payoff with the minimum risk. So they're looking for the easiest thing to do with this little possibility of getting caught or raising any alarms. So what you can do for yourselves, lock your doors, windows, your vehicle, and your homes. No valuables in plain sight in your home or your car. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Know your neighborhoods, their children, vehicles. Keep your trees and bushes trimmed. meaning, if they keep them trimmed, so if somebody decides to hide in there, they can't. Have proper lighting, outdoor lighting, indoor lighting, street lights, we'll go over that. Share the information with your neighbors. It goes back to see something, say something. Hey, this guy's been in the neighborhood, we don't know who he is, but he's been walking around, just to keep everybody on notice. Maybe he's just some family member, or maybe he's looking to do something more, but share that information with your neighbors. Keep emergency phone numbers next to phone or programmed into the phone, right? I don't know how many people still use landlines, but have those numbers on a sheet of paper right next to the phone. Have everything saved into your Droid, Apple, whatever phone that you have. Don't leave anything out when you are away, especially tools. Burglars can use the tools to break in your house. So you leave your outside working, you leave your tools out, they'll use those tools to essentially get in your house. So making sure you're putting everything away and making sure everything's locked up. If you have to call the police for any assistance, take a moment and collect your thoughts. Make sure you know where you're at. This is going to be one of the first questions that you get asked by police dispatch is, what's your location? What's your address? Take a deep breath and speak clearly. Give the big picture first, then details. Answer the dispatcher's questions, and don't hang up until told to do so. So with our dispatch, they're going to go through a bunch of questions to try and get officers out there and let the officers know what they're getting into or what they're responding to. So the big picture would be, hey, this guy's checking doors. It looks like he's trying to break into something. Then the details would be what he looks like, what he's wearing, little things like that. But the main goal is to start officers out to that location and give them an idea of what they're going out there for. And dispatch always provides updates while they're traveling. So the biggest thing is to provide the big details and get those officers out there first, and then the details can come later. The dispatch will tell you essentially, hey, we have guys going out there, we have officers heading out your way. You can go ahead and hang up, but if something escalates or something changes, call us back. So graffiti. How to report graffiti. Just call the Barstow Police non-emergency phone number. Even if somebody is actively drawing or painting on property, do not approach the subjects. We don't know who these people are, what they're doing, what they have on them. Essentially, it says it at the end, it's just property. Observe from a distance and report the circumstances to police dispatch. Goes back to the previous slide of, hey, this guy's tagging the side of this house or this brick wall. This is where he is. Okay, and then I'll give us the little details. If there is an immediate threat to life, call 911. The main thing, you don't have to approach and intervene. Call us, we'll respond, we'll get out there. So there's crime prevention through environmental design, such as your houses and your neighborhood. It's based on one theory that crime occurs partly because the opportunities presented by the physical environment. Plant rose bushes under windows or along fences. Obviously they have thorns. Trees trimmed, can't be used to climb into your house. Bushes are kept short, good lighting, and your windows are clear. So it just says keep your house clean and we'll be fine. Inoperable streetlights. If there's streetlights in your neighborhood that are not operating properly, you can call Edison, you can report it. The location of the pole, there's an address that it's closest to. If you don't know the exact address, hey, it's on the corner of 1st Street and 2nd Street. The condition of the light, hey, it's dim, it's out, or it's broken. There's actually a pole number on that pole. So you can even give the pole number to them and it pinpoints the exact location of that pole so they can respond and fix it. Solicitors, dumpster diving, people selling things, or even kids selling candy. So there are some BMC codes, they're Barstow municipal codes that involve those things. Unauthorized removal from containers. I know it's kind of lengthy, but no person other than the authorized collector shall remove or tamper with or remove any solid waste, recyclables, or organic waste from a container other than the owner or occupant of the property served by the such container. So you put your trash out on the street, or maybe somebody goes to your house to collect your recyclables in your backyard. Call us, right? There's a little bit of additional information that's up there. But the main thing is if you see guys, or people, I should say, going through the dumpsters, making a mess, leaving trash all over the street, call us. It's a municipal code that they can be given a citation for. Solicitors, unlawful loitering or solicitation. So it just means to delay or linger without any lawful purpose or being on or near property or the purpose of committing a crime or opportunity may be discovered. You get home, this guy's sitting on your front porch hanging out. Don't know him. Soliciting, loitering, or, it kind of traverses into that trespass realm. Solicitation means to ask or beg for money or something of value by spoken word, bodily gestures, or a sign as a donation or as consideration for service or sale of goods. This is another section that they can be given a citation for. So if you see solicitors in the neighborhood, hey, we're selling candy, we're asking for donations, going door to door trying to sell chocolate, whatever the case may be. That's a municipal code that they can be cited for, especially, like I said, given the circumstances before of guys dressing up as repairmen, solar panel salesmen, right? These are common people, and some of them are legitimately doing their job. They usually have their ID on them. They usually have some documentation showing the company that they work for. Ask these guys, hey, we're selling solar panels. We're with this company. Let me see your ID. And then that usually kind of gives you a general idea if they are legit salesmen or if they're just trying to do a little bit more. But that section right there, you can be given a citation for. Private property. This kind of, like I said, traverses with the trespass. No person shall enter or remain upon any drive-in or takeout restaurant, automobile parking lot, shopping center, property, or any other place open to the public without the implied or express consent of the owner, his agent, or person in lawful possession thereof. And it goes on. It talks about motor vehicles. So if you guys live in an area where there are public places, businesses, so forth like that, if somebody's hanging out and he says, oh, the owner says I could be here. All right. Well, if you live nearby, there's nothing saying you can't go ask that owner, hey, this guy's out here hanging out. Don't know who he is. Did you give him permission? Yes, no, whatever the case may be. You guys can call us. Hey, we don't know who this guy is. He's hanging out. We just maybe want him checked out or making sure he's good, whatever the case may be. Or you can tell that property owner, hey, maybe you should call the police department, and we can go from there as well. Or like I said, if you go home and this guy's sitting in your driveway on your porch, I don't know who you are, you guys can call us. And then that also, even if you have neighbors that you know personally, you've known for years, and you see some random guy sitting on their patio and they're off on vacation, nothing saying you can't call and say, hey, neighbors are gone, this guy's on his patio, don't know who he is, he doesn't live there. You guys can call for that as well. Personal safety. So a few things that you guys can do just to practice good safety is shop with others. So if you guys go out to the mall, take somebody with you. Stay alert and be aware of your surroundings. I say that constantly, even if you're out taking your trash out, make sure who's around. Sometimes it's either late at night or super early in the morning. If you forget to put your cans down, you got to wake up before they come, right? Park in well-lit areas and plan ahead. So know if you're getting home late, okay, got to make sure my lights are on. If they're not on, that's going to be one of the first things I do is get my lights turned on when I get to the house. If you're being followed, whether in a store, on the road, alert, store employees, security, or police. Just to piggyback off that, if you are being followed or if you feel like you're being followed, obviously don't go home. Keep driving around, and if that car keeps following you and you've made some turns where you think, okay, nobody should be following me, give the police department a call. Or just drive straight here. Yeah. Or just drive straight here. If you guys have children, train kids to approach store workers as they become separated from you. Stores, amusement parks, whatever the case may be, inform your children who they can approach if they become separated. Place your purchases in the trunk of your car. If you go out to the mall, don't leave your Coach and Gucci bags in the back seat. Don't overburden yourself with packages, making to the point to where you're having trouble carrying them, because that kind of goes back to being an easy target. If you're overloaded with bags and they see that could be one of those easy targets. Have your keys ready in your hand when returning to your car. There's been plenty of times myself, I've had my hands full of groceries. I get to the car and I'm fumbling for my keys. I have to put the groceries down, try and get my keys out. A lot of time can be saved just having those keys in the hand, or maybe even unlocking it as you walk out. Check your vehicle for any suspicions. You know, if something doesn't feel right, chances are it's probably not right. So just check your vehicle. Go around it, see if there's anything that looks off, if there's any issues with the car, or if maybe you saw a guy or a girl in the parking lot, maybe you've never seen before. You come out to your car, make sure your car's not tampered with or there haven't been any issues. Use purses with zippers and avoid pickpockets. So if you have a purse, keep it zipped. It's very easy for people to walk by the purse, reach in, grab whatever you want out, and you have no idea. Hold your purses close to you, especially if there's no zipper. Keep it in the front. If you're in the bathroom, double wrap the straps on the hook inside of the stall. That way, you know, say you walk out and you forget it, you can come back and it's not just grabbing it off the door and running out. Maybe they have to take a little bit of extra time if they wanted to take it to get it off that door, and there's time to get that problem addressed. Carry your wallet, cash, credit cards in your front pocket if you can. If you use a shopping cart, secure your purse by using the child's seatbelt. So throw your purse in the shopping cart, click it with the child's seatbelt. If anybody wants to walk by and try and grab it, it's going to get caught up. They're not going to be able to. So there are, we have a weed tip. It's completely anonymous, and it's not for current in-progress crimes. If there's in-progress crimes, call 911, call the non-emergency number, depending on the situation. It works really well for past crimes. You know, maybe an incident happened 2 weeks ago, and the police are out there. You're in the neighborhood. You don't want to speak to them because you don't want people to see you talking to the police and then have that fear of retaliation or being targeted. You can use this phone number. I believe you can even go on the website and submit tips anonymously via the website, and they come straight to us. So it allows you to put the suspect in the crime information, unknown jurisdiction, fear retaliation, and there are rewards that are tax-free depending on the situation at hand. Now, if you say, if you put in a weed tip and expect a $50,000 reward, it might not happen, but there is a chance, given the situation, that a reward is attached to it. Megan's Law. So it's used information as a tool. Use information as a tool only. Cannot use information to harass, annoy, or cause injury to a convicted sex offender. So Megan's Law is public information. The website's up there. If you live in a certain area, you can type in the area that you live in, and if there are any convicted sex offenders in that area, they'll auto-populate. Usually they have descriptive information, usually a picture is attached, and usually the crime that had been committed or what they're convicted of is attached as well. There's different names that are listed. Maybe they used aliases in the past, and they tell you, hey, my name is so-and-so. And you go on Megan's Law and look them up, that alias will pop up with this subject. It's all public information. It's all online. And even if there's some in your neighborhood that you are concerned about or maybe have issues with, inform your neighbors, hey, we can go online, we can pull this information, these are who these people are. Now, you can't call us and say, hey, he lives in our area, and we don't like him. We can't do that. But if there is suspicion of maybe some criminal acts being committed by this subject, and you want to report that, you can report that to us, and then we can investigate it from there and determine if there's anything going on or if there isn't. But don't use it just to harass, annoy, or cause injury to that person. How to have a successful crime-free neighborhood. We can do monthly meetings or quarterly meetings and include training. So the neighborhoods are split up into captains. Usually the captains will get with their neighborhoods and say, hey, we're going to plan a meeting. We want you guys to go over here, come with us. You can do it at a local restaurant. You guys can do it maybe a barbecue at your house, whatever the case may be. You can also set up meetings here with us to be present and provide information on maybe what's going on in your neighborhoods. Hey, we've seen a rise in these incidents in your neighborhoods, so be a little bit more attentive to these circumstances. Or we've seen arise in these issues. Just to give you guys some information of what we've seen as well, we can do that. But you guys can get with me to schedule something. I can be present during those meetings with your guys' groups, your neighborhoods, and we can sit here, and if you guys are having issues, we can brainstorm a solution. Yeah, so we have beat officers. We have officers assigned to each beats within the city. We can have those officers attend these meetings, have come out, meet you guys, meet the captains. You guys have a point of contact with the police department. And like Lieutenant Benitez said, those officers are assigned to that beat for a period of time. And like he said, until shift change. Shift change isn't every other week. It's usually a vast amount of time that these officers are assigned to those beats. So let's say we have a shift change and you guys have a new beat officer or two new beat officers, one for the daytime, one for nighttime. We can get you guys introduced with them, familiarize yourselves with them, express any concerns. And if they have something that they need help with, they can come back to us and we can formulate a solution. But we can also incorporate them into the meetings if need be. That way you can express concerns directly to them. Hey, midnight at this time, we always have this issue. Okay, or hey, 9 o'clock in the morning, we have this issue. And now those officers are aware of what's going on within your guys' neighborhoods. Summer block parties, mainly building a relationship with your community. Have parties, get to know one another. Maybe you have somebody that just moved in. They're not familiar with the neighborhood. They just got here from out of town. Welcoming them with open arms. Hey, come out to our summer block party. You can meet everybody. This is what we got going on. Be a part of it. Keep each other safe. X, Y, and Z. Join nextdoor.com. Nextdoor.com is just a neighborhood watch program that you guys can set up through that website. Or not a neighborhood watch program, but for your neighborhood watch section, I guess you could say. Keep in contact via email, Facebook, etc. So make sure you guys have your guys' contact information with your neighbors. Like I said, if you see something, hey, somebody's at your house, don't know who he is, just want to let you know. And they can say, oh, hey, that's Uncle John, he's visiting, or hey, we're out of town, we don't know him, can you help us out? And you guys can go from there. Keep your contact information current. We would hate for somebody to try to call you and say, hey, your front door is open, where are you? And they can't get a hold of you. But hopefully they just call us anyways and let us know. Keep up to date on current events, crime trends, and community news. Us as a police department, we're constantly posting our press releases, incidents that happen around town, things that are going on, and that way it gives you guys some knowledge. Okay, hey, this is going on in this area, or this happened in this area. It doesn't mean that it's a constant problem in that area. Maybe something significant happened, and it happened to be in your neighborhood. Any questions, or before we dive into this next part, any questions on the neighborhood program, neighborhood watch program in of itself? A lot of it has to do with you guys taking that initiative within your own neighborhoods to get something rolling. And then once that gets rolling, we can assist as much as we need to or as much as you want us to. Any questions that you guys have, you guys can contact me directly, or if we get you guys in touch with your beat officer, contact the beat officer. But any questions on this part? Okay, so for now, everybody good? Okay, so I'm going to jump into some other, it coincides with Neighborhood Watch, but it's more so knowledge for you guys. I know some things have been brought up about self-defense, defending yourselves, defending property. I'm going to go over a few things, that way you guys are well informed on those laws and the things. So California self-defense laws, and this is all public information. This isn't coming from the police department of it itself. This is all, everything's accessible online. So the right to use deadly force in self-defense is one of the most argued and least understood legal concepts today. At the base, self-defense is simple. California self-defense law states that people may use force proportional to the force used against them. So if someone is trying to rob you and they're physically attacking you, you can use physical force to defend yourself, okay? And I'll go through and I'm going to touch a little bit on some of these bullet points a little bit more in depth as we get to them. California law allows people to use any force up to lethal force to defend themselves and the defense of others if they have a reasonable belief such force is necessary to prevent worse harm. California does not call itself a stand your ground state, but its laws resemble those of so-called stand your ground jurisdictions. So California, they don't identify as a stand your ground state, but there are laws that almost mirror some states that have the stand your ground laws within them. The article reviews California self-defense laws and what they mean if you're in danger or imminent bodily harm in your home and in other locations. And this is not a catch-all for everything. We can sit here until midnight talking about different situations. What if this? What if that? Right? So this is not a catch-all for every situation. Everything is on a literal case-by-case basis. There's no two cases that are ever going to be identically the same. There's always going to be something that is different from one another. So self-defense and stand your ground laws. All states recognize the right to defend oneself against an imminent threat. California Penal Code 692 to 694 codifies the right as lawful resistance to a public offense means it must be something happening where others can see it. Resistance sufficient to prevent an offense against the person, their family, or their property. And resistance sufficient to aid the defense of any other person in danger. So these three things is what California says that you guys can use self-defense for. But again, it's a case-by-case situation. Yes?
When you say where others can see it, does that include like your cameras? Or does it have to be someone else?
I think it's referring to if you're out in public somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would say out in public. That's probably what that refers to.
It says like the resistance to a public offense means it must be something happening where others, like they're in public somewhere.
Yeah, so if you're at the mall and some guy or some person comes up and snatches your purse and starts physically assaulting you, public offense, others can see it, and you physically have to defend yourself, that's where that comes in. So stand your ground laws have excited some discussion in recent years. You may see some advocates call California a stand your ground state, but California does not have an affirmative stand your ground law. Instead, the state's self-defense laws omit any requirements to retreat. So there are three ways a state can frame self-defense laws. An affirmative requirement to retreat. So a duty to retreat means that a person in imminent danger must retreat to a place of safety if it's safe to do so. Before resorting to lethal force. So there's 10 states that have an affirmative duty to retreat law. So those states listed say in their laws that you have to retreat to a safe place if you're able to do so. An affirmative law protecting the right to confront an attacker, even if retreat was possible. There's some 35 states that they have specific stand your ground statutes. In some states, self-defense is presumed, and the state must show that the crime was not justifiable homicide. So on the legal side, there are different, I guess you can say different tiers as far as investigations go when it comes to this. A presumptive rule that allows defendants to claim self-defense but places the burden of proof on the defendant to show they were in fear or death or great bodily harm. California's case law supports a presumption of self-defense. So California case law, it's the defendant has to claim self-defense, but you have to prove that you're in fear of death or great bodily harm. It comes on you to prove that. And like I said, you spend all night with different situations. This is just kind of just the umbrella of things. Yeah. And with those cases, obviously there's a million different circumstances that go into it, different perceptions, different, the body does weird things under stress, At the end of it, whether these circumstances are met, whether they're not met, a report is still sent to the district attorney's office. So whether you were in the right, that report is still going to get reviewed by the district attorney to ensure that, hey, you guys didn't commit any crimes, you guys didn't violate any laws, X, Y, and Z. And it is a very, very thorough investigation that's completed. There's a lot of work on our end that goes into it to present that to the district attorney's office. There's a lot of circumstances that surround, let's say, the justifiable homicide, right? Pretty much saying, hey, this person was unfortunately killed. but it's justifiable based on these circumstances. Meaning, hey, the district attorney has said, given these circumstances, you guys acted within law, and you guys are not going to be held criminally liable. We're going to touch on the civil liability side in a little bit, but as far as the criminal goes, it can go, like I said, this is all the circumstances that come into play. And go ahead.
And then we look, and if it's him,
Yeah, and this isn't to deter you guys from saying you guys can't do anything. It's just that knowledge of what you can't do, things to be aware of, and just to better arm yourselves with that knowledge of, hey, if this circumstance arises, you know, am I going to be okay? Am I not going to be okay? It's just that personal knowledge to make sure you guys aren't wild cowboys out there. You know, it's just knowledge. Like, we're not trying to deter you guys from anything at all. Just want you guys to have that knowledge, because a lot of people, they think that they legally know what's good and what's not, and then they realize, oh, I didn't know that. You know, and usually it's later down the road when things are already getting really sticky for them, rather than having that knowledge up front and understanding what can and can't be done. Yeah, and I mean, you don't even have to have your house set up like Fort Knox with cameras, even a Ring camera. I mean, those things have progressed so much in the last few years. I mean, yeah, so the Ring cameras, they catch a lot, and their field of view is huge, you know. And I think they even do package deals now. Hey, buy a Ring camera, we'll get you 2 extra cameras for your house for no cost, whatever the case may be. But signs, deterrents, if you have a security system, throw a sign in your front yard. It's just one extra thing that they need to think about. Like you said, the lock boxes for the mailbox, throw a lock on there. Get a mailbox that locks. Especially if, you know, if you're dealing with a lot of things by mail, whether it be legal stuff, financial stuff, whatever the case may be. These criminals are very smart when it comes to these, you know, stealing mail, then social security numbers. Now they're in your bank account. You know, it's a lot of things, or they just turn around and sell them for money. But, you know, that's where they start, is getting the mail, and then going whichever way and dispersing it and getting money off of it. And I mean, they don't care. So the Castle Doctrine. So it's a California Penal Code 198.5. It goes back to the common law doctrine that a man's home is his castle. Someone on their own real property, home, business, or real estate has no duty to retreat when faced with imminent danger. The law presumes that if you use force likely to cause death or great bodily injury, you believe you are in fear of such force. So under California's Castle Doctrine, the prosecutor must prove that you are not in fear of death or serious bodily injury, and if that is not shown, the court must acquit you. The Castle Doctrine does not apply when you leave the property. So you can't use self-defense against, you can't use self-defense against law enforcement officers, first responders, and others allowed by statute to enter property without the owner's consent. So if we walk up to your door, maybe we get a call for service, and you say it was self-defense, and, you know, you shoot a police officer, it's not going to fly. You can use the amount of force that a reasonable person would use in a similar situation. Like all self-defense laws, the Castle Doctrine depends, again, on the circumstances. A reasonable fear in one time and place is not reasonable in another. So it's case-by-case situation. And so it goes back to the example. You know, if I am an aggressor and I attack her, that's the size difference, the weight difference. It's going to be a little bit different if I attack someone similar to my size. There's a lot of circumstances that go into it. So there's imperfect self-defense. So imperfect self-defense is a criminal jury instruction that allows defendants to avoid a murder conviction in cases where their use of excessive force was sincerely held but objectively unreasonable. So that case that's up there, it's a case law that pertains to this. In an imperfect self-defense case, a defendant must show evidence that tends to negate the malice element of a murder charge and show that at the time of the homicide, they reasonably but mistakenly believed that they were in fear for their life. So the jury instructions allow jurors to consider a verdict of voluntary manslaughter rather than first or second degree murder. So that's just a little bit extra. This is a possibility depending on the circumstances, the situations that could arise. So belief in future harm is insufficient to justify a self-defense claim. So it has to be imminent. You can't say, oh, well, I thought he was going to do this. You can't speak for that other person or what their thought process is, right? It has to be in the then and now. You can't say, well, he was acting like this, so I thought he was going to do more, and that's what happened. It's not going to fly. Mutual combat. So if you're involved in a fight, even in a stand your ground state, you can face criminal charges if you started it or failed to back out when you could. Street fights are one area where self-defense is not a valid excuse for failing to retreat. If the fight escalates to deadly force or someone is seriously injured or dies, you can claim self-defense if you are not the initial aggressor, or you try to stop fighting in good faith and you couldn't. You're trying to stop the fight. Hey, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You indicated to your opponent you wanted to stop fighting, and you gave your opponent the chance to stop fighting. If you picked the fight or pretended to retreat to catch your opponent off guard, your defense will fail. So you can't bait them. That's essentially what it says. Defense of another. California allows you to come to the defense of another. That's the penal code for it. You can use reasonable force to prevent an attempted homicide or felony on another person or to prevent an entry into another's home with an intent to do harm. Now, if your neighbor's gone on vacation and you know they're gone on vacation, you know the house is empty and someone goes to break in, you can't go in there and, essentially beat this person. As with other self-defense laws, the use of force must be proportional to the force exerted. You must also be sure that the person needs your presumed help. So say you witness a street fight, some guy is getting beat on, you go and intervene, and they get up and say, hey, I didn't need your help. What are you doing? Well, it looked like you did. Well, I didn't need it. So that's one thing. Even if he did need it, he might say he didn't or she didn't, and then it opens up the floodgates. Now, like Lieutenant Benitez gave that extreme example earlier, if there is an active attempted murder happening and that person is screaming for help, bloody murder, whatever the case may be, and you go in and intervene, you're probably going to be okay. State laws are always subject to change through the passage of new legislation, rulings in the higher courts, ballot initiatives, and other means. Strive to provide the most current information, but please consult an attorney or conduct your own legal research to verify the state laws you're researching. So always, look, things are changing every day. For us, for the state, for the country, laws are constantly changing. So make sure you guys are staying up to date on the current laws. One day we may be able to do this, and the next week things change and say, hey, we can't do that anymore. Correct. So, and they say, well, the law changed. Didn't you see it? It wasn't like that last week. Well, that doesn't apply. The law's in place now. There you go. And that kind of falls on you to make sure you guys are staying up with that. So we're going to touch on this. So criminal versus civil liability. So criminal liability refers to the legal responsibility an individual incurs for committing a crime, going through the court process, the district attorney's office, law enforcement, X, Y, and Z. This is pretty lengthy. I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version. So civil liability concerns an individual's legal accountability for actions causing harm or damage to another, distinct from criminal liability. So criminal and civil are two completely different things. You guys may be criminally okay if you acted in self-defense. Maybe the district attorney says, hey, no charges are being filed. You guys acted within the law. Civilly, you guys may be held responsible for any injuries that you caused, essentially. And I'm going to touch on one. I think there's two cases in here where civil liability came into play, and criminally maybe they were okay, but on the civil side, things were completely different. In the American justice system, anyone can sue anyone for about anything at any time. If an attacker is injured or killed during the commission of a crime, the victim may be exonerated from criminal liability, but the family of the attacker may sue the victim for damages. The standard or burden of proof in civil cases is a level of evidence required for a plaintiff to prevail in their case. In civil litigation, the standard is typically known as the preponderance of evidence. So this means that the plaintiff must demonstrate that their version of the events is more likely than not to be true, with over 50% certainty. So it could be 51%, 49%. It is a lower threshold compared to the beyond a reasonable doubt standard used in criminal cases, which is the highest standard of proof, thus making it easier for plaintiffs to succeed in civil actions. For example, say you get into a fight, you were getting whooped on, but maybe you don't have any injuries. The other person was criminally, let's say the aggressor, and they're covered bloody face, broken nose. And they said, no, this is what happened. This is my injuries. They didn't have any injuries. So that preponderance of evidence kind of leans towards maybe criminally the aggressor, but civilly the victim. That makes sense? Civil liability risks. So financial penalties and judgments. If found responsible for damages in a lawsuit stemming from a self-defense incident, you could face significant financial penalties, which can include compensatory damages, which can include punitive damages, medical expenses, lost wages, plaintiff legal fees, etc. So just on that, again, let's go back to a fight. Criminally, you guys did no wrong, but maybe this person was out of work for 2 weeks. They accrued hospital bills. They lost wages. They hired an attorney. And if they find that civilly you guys were in the wrong, now that money gets awarded to them. Now you have to pay for everything. Incarceration. Beyond the financial risk in a self-defense incident is deemed to involve criminal negligence, the defendant may also face incarceration. So there may be times that you're getting sued civilly, but now there's a criminal aspect to it. So say civilly, yes, you're in the wrong, and now criminally you're in the wrong. Now you got a double whammy. So you could also face incarceration atop of the penalties and judgments that are awarded. Oh, same slide. So the best practices to minimize civil liability risk. Understanding local laws and using force only when necessary are fundamental. Invest in proper security measures like alarms, outdoor lighting, and sturdy locks to deter potential threats. If somebody's really committed to committing an act, make sure you have those steps that you tried to prevent that from occurring. Hey, he broke the lock on my door. He broke my security cameras. They kicked in the front door. It was locked. We did all these steps to try and prevent this from happening. That's going to be the best ways to minimize that civil liability because you're taking steps to protect yourself rather than, the gate was open, my front door was unlocked, and I was asleep on the couch. Now that goes back to you didn't do anything to protect yourself. If a situation arises, prioritize de-escalation techniques and consider retreating when possible. So, hey, what do you want? I don't want, we don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to hurt me. Talk them down. Use, your communication skills to try and de-escalate that situation. If you can retreat back to your house, call the police. Take those steps necessary to protect yourself. Lastly, documenting incidents and seeking legal advice promptly can further mitigate civil liability risks associated with home defense. So make sure you document everything. Goes back to the cameras. Say a situation happens and you say, I've had problems with this person for the last 2, 3, 4 months. This is what's been going on. Okay, where's the proof of this? It's right here. Cool. Where's the proof of this? I don't have any. Right? So it looks a lot better if you're documenting things. If you have incidents, we tell people all the time, hey, if there's something going on, call us because it's documented with us. Hey, I need a report number. There's your documentation. That's very common with, constant issues, maybe with a neighbor. They're constantly doing this or constantly doing that, X, Y, and Z. Okay, get your documentation. Let us know so we can keep things documented. That way, down the road, if something was to happen, you have that behind you. So if there's a court order already in place, then we can, if the steps, I shouldn't say the steps, if those things were violated within that court order, yes, we can take legal action. But if there is no court order there, our hands are kind of tied on what we can do. We're going to tell you, go to court, get a restraining order, get what you need. Because you can say, hey, this guy's calling me 3, 4 times a day. I don't want him to do it anymore. Okay, have you gone to court? Have you tried to get a restraining order? No, you need to do that because in that court order, that gives us legal cause if he continues to call you to, okay, he's violating this court order. Now we can arrest him on that violation. Okay, so this is just a quick example of a home defense leading to legal consequences. So a man shot an intruder in his home was sued for a wrongful death. So the wrongful death lawsuit was seeking $505,000 from a man who came home to find his door kicked in and an intruder in his living room. Police did not prosecute, or the district attorney's office did not prosecute the homeowner, but the judge approved a civil case to proceed. A 33-year-old intruder attacked the homeowner and started strangling him when he was confronted. The homeowner, with help from his girlfriend, obtained his handgun and shot the man in the back from a very close range. All three subjects were reportedly intoxicated at the time of the incident, and the couple told police they did not know the intruder. The lawsuit was later filed by the parents of the intruder, alleging the homeowner of using reckless and excessive force. So this is one of those extreme situations that you come home, your door's open, you go inside, and maybe this happens. The family of the intruder argued that the homeowner provoked the attack by entering his own home after finding the door kicked in instead of calling the police. After much argument from both attorneys, the judge sided with the family of the intruder, saying there was not definite proof that the intruder attacked the couple before being shot. In their bid for damages, the family cited loss of life and loss of companionship and support from, I should have put deceased man, but it says dead man. So that's one of those cases where criminally, hey, you're okay, but now civilly, you're being held liable for this guy's death. You're in your home. This is what happened. And that's where we go back to the preponderance of evidence. It's a lot lower than it is for the criminal side of things.
One of those situations where, okay,
So this is a really, really extreme one, but just one of those things. An armed guard shot and killed a male in a Lowe's parking lot after stating he was acting in self-defense when the male subject was attempting to run him over. The security guard was in possession of a gun he wasn't legally allowed to carry as a security guard. So that's one of those extreme circumstances that has happened. The wife of the decedent sued the property owners and their hired security firm. The jury awarded $20 million to the family, and the security guard was sentenced to life in prison. So, like I said, that's one extreme case. There's a lot of different things that go into this as far as what happened, why the amount was so much, and why he ultimately had served some jail time. But it goes back to understanding your laws, knowing what you can and can't do, protecting yourself as far as civilly, what you guys can do to minimize those risks. And you guys can even pass that on to your neighbors, your neighborhood. Hey, make sure you guys are taking these steps because we don't want anything to happen. We don't want to be held liable, especially property owners, because I'm sure an argument would be, well, did you inform your tenants on what they can and can't do? Why not? It's your property, and that starts the snowball. And so if you guys are keeping documentation, like say you hold part of the lease agreement or part of understanding, hey, sign this, you understand these are the steps you need to take, boom, 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 boom. Maybe implement that if you don't already have one. But then that also covers you on the backside of things. Any questions on this? Any questions, any of it at all?